All right, I'm trying something today. So today is November 2nd, and I have the day to myself. Not the whole day, but I've got like 6 hours while my daughter's at her grandparents, and I am trying to finish up the Axe Quarterly Challenge. So I've got 5 or 6 trees lined up to fell, small trees. I'm going to see, I've got 1 rick left to do, so I'm going to see how far I can get in a day or 6 hours. And I've already burned up a bunch of it. The first tree, so one thing I'd hope to do is get all the brushing done ahead of time, and I have not. This one's not too bad, but you know, where I live, all the trees are just surrounded by buckthorn. So a lot of brushing out needs to be done. But this one's pretty good. So I thought I'd film one, just, you know, so I have try filming the complete processing of one tree and see how long it takes. If it doesn't take too long, I might upload it. I'm gonna have to adjust this. Do a check before I get so far into it. Okay. Let me get the hit. So the axe I'm using is a 3-pound Walters on a 30 or 29-inch, 75 centimeter Robinia or black locust handle. I like the name Robinia for it. I think that's what it's often called in Europe. It's the genus name, the botanical name. Sounds nicer. Anyway, the pattern is, I think it's what Walters called the regular pattern. So they're like, what kind of axe is this? I don't know, regular axe. So I don't have enough. Okay. Is this far enough away? You see the problems I have with pressure in here? Okay. Just right. I'm trying to get better at leveling the camera. Oftentimes I forget and then my shots end up crooked. Right. So this tree I think is 6 or 7 inches at the stump. Maybe I'll measure it and put it in the description. But it's not a very big tree, but that's kind of, today I'm going to do a bunch of small trees. It's probably efficient for an axe. So yeah, I'm going to fell it this way. I can't, there's not enough room for me to put the camera behind and swing it anyway without doing a whole bunch more brushing out. And I'm going to do offhand swinging, which is probably best if nobody sees how well that goes. Especially since I haven't really chopped much since the spring. So yeah, we'll just keep that between us. Or between me, not you. Always takes me a minute to figure out where to stand for offense. Should really do this more carefully. Get the brush out of my way before. Get there. All right. I'm going to bring you guys back to the stump. Still recording. I do like to see what's going on. Okay. Back of the stump, I'm going to do some limbing. These epic cornmeal shoots are actually put out as after the tree gets infected by emerald ash borer. And so a bunch of shoots around the base are an early sign of infection, and it's because the tree, the top of the tree gets cut off from the roots by the borer activity. And so it's trying to compensate by putting out new branches. Of course, it's not enough. Generally, you don't limb on the same side you're on, but for these little branches, it doesn't matter. Normally I'd break these branches down more, but probably wouldn't make for a very good video if I spent more time doing that than actually chopping the wood. So this tree is still alive, but barely. It's November now, so the leaves are all gone, but I kept an eye on it during the summer, see how it would do. I took one by here in the spring, and then I'm like, well, this one's still alive, we'll see. But yeah, not doing so hot. Now, I said I wasn't going to do that. Some on this side. If you are going to do it on the same side, make sure that it's ahead of you. So if the axe glances or comes through when you think it won't, you're not there. So now the tree is dead up here, so everything's a bit tougher. Buckthorn. Generally, saws do better when the wood is dead and dry, but axe still works decently well. Okay, on the danger side again, just being careful. I try not to leave long spurs that are going to annoy me later. You know, during like stacking and stuff. Pull this. Okay. So now that it's down, I've done the limbing, but I'm not going to limb the very top because it's always nice, like past that little fork there, it's always nice to not have the log roll, and so I always try to keep at least some strategic limbs on there to prevent that, as it gets chopped up and gets smaller. I don't like it when it rolls. It's dangerous, but it's also annoying. It's just inconvenient. It doesn't work as well. Right. I'm gonna get a sip of water. Ooh, can't. Branches are blocking my way. Okay. So this is my pack I rigged up recently. Just a milk crate on a frame pack with a bungee cord that I can use to gather everything up when I pack it. And I can put all sorts of stuff in there. Got another axe, a little silky saw, bow saw for doing back cuts. I've got my brush hook, oxencop brush hook for doing, that's what I'm using to brush it around the trees because it's very nice for that. Yeah, there's a first aid kit, water bottle. Yeah, just stone for touching up the edge. Okay, I'm gonna bring this water bottle. Sometimes I wonder if people notice in my other videos that I have this red water bottle that's always in the shot, and that's never been on purpose, but it sort of seems like I'm trying to do an Easter egg. But if anyone is invested in it, I am sorry to report that it passed away when I was trying to get a truck unstuck, and I did, and then I ran it over. All right. That was actually interesting. So it was not me that got it stuck, first of all. But I did have to use an axe to get it out because someone dropped the front end into a ditch. And with the grill right, right in front of a rock. And so we had to jack it up and then put logs down to lift the wheels up away from, to get it out of the ditch so we could roll it back. And yeah, happened to have an axe in the truck. So, not what happened, we were on a back road, logging road, and stuff like that. I mean, I thought maybe a down tree on the road more than getting stuck, but yeah, it's not the first time having an axe came in handy. So, is this in frame? So I've showed this trick before in another video, but I use my forearm to measure 16 inches, and then I hold onto the axe handle to kind of keep that position, and then I use it to mark stove length. And it's just handy. This is why I'm not doing the other trees. I'm not filming them at all because it takes longer. You gotta constantly worry about what the camera's doing. All right. Okay. I'll give you some bucking. I can't see how long this is taking so I'm filming with my phone because the camera's on the fritz. I can't see how long this is taking because the time is not showing. I hope my phone doesn't run out of storage before I'm finished. too narrow. Oops. Good enough. Why did the phone beep? I don't know. Still filming. Still recording. Filming. They don't use film anymore. Back when the early days of the cell phone, they used film. My first black locust handle. A friend of a friend had a bunch of his property that he cut down. I guess thinned them or whatever. And then offered, he's like, oh, you can pick through and see if there's anything you want. I'm like, oh, that's great. And it was very nice, but it was, they were all hollow. They've been sitting for a year. The one thing about black locust is it's rot resistant, unlike hickory and ash and a lot of other species, but there's still there was very slim pickings, but I'm happy to say I got at least one handle out of it. I've got a couple of other chunks. It's gonna be touch and go if I can get a handle out, but we'll try. Ooh. I hate cutting anything that's not buckthorn if I don't have to, but that is going to be dangerous. It'll go back. Blue fruited dogwood. It grows very well around here. Okay. I think it's always a good idea to become familiar enough with your local trees and shrubs that you know what's around you, even in the winter when they don't have leaves, or in the fall. At least, if you're trying to do any forestry or range management or anything, you should obviously be able to identify the plants. I got a big knot here. I don't think I'm in frame. All right. It's a nice cool day, but it feels warm enough right now. another knot. Man, I really picked these knot spots. A little bit. Getting rid of those spurs, studs, whatever you want to call them. And another knot. So, yes. The other thing about leaving a few branches on is it makes it a little more likely that the log's not going to be flat on the ground, because that makes it a lot easier to buck if you don't have to worry as much about getting the axe in the dirt and oops, I can't chop and be accurate when I'm talking, at least not reliably. What was I talking about? Yeah, anyway, that's another reason why I don't do all the limbing until I'm ready to start severing the log. I do quite enjoy this axe. 3 pounds, not a common weight, but it's really kind of a sweet spot if you're got a lot to do. Kind of pull in some hours chopping. 3 pounds is good. Even a boy's axe is good, especially if the wood you're cutting is, the timber's not too big. One side done, back down the other side. Oops. See, I was trying not to sever it, but I got a little overzealous. I'll go pick these branches off now. It's so important to make sure you got a clear swing. Nothing's gonna deflect it into your leg. Okay. First log. Up there. See, now it's moving so much because I took the top off. It's making things more difficult. That was a mistake on my part. So, yeah, the way I do it, is, if I do it right, is I don't go all the way through. I try to keep the log together at the bottom until the end. Now I got another big knot. I think I'm gonna move you guys. I have to add some water. Here's the stump, by the way. The hinge is gone from because I had to cut. Oops, the hinge is gone because I had to cut it off, but it's on a diagonal. Yeah, so it's on a diagonal, and that's intentional I mean, it's not preferred or anything, but that's just what happens when you cut it low and use a natural swing. I've got a video about that, but anyway, that's why I switched hands to do the back cut, so that this slope here goes the same way as this slope here. Otherwise, you know, if you have this sloping down and that sloping up, then, or that like sloping down this way and that sloping down that way, then they meet in an X and the hinge will break prematurely. Oh no. See, this is what I hate. So now, oh my goodness. Sorry about that. Watch this. Now that I don't have enough branches on this thing, this log rolled, I want it to be like this. And it's going to keep doing that, most likely, annoyingly, without the branches keeping steady. So I'm kind of regretting that I made that mistake. Make sure my leg's not in the line of it coming through or any glances. One reason to keep the log steady is just to avoid the temptation to step over it or stand on it to hold it, because that's very dangerous. Again. Okay. You can see the dark brown spots under the bark. That's where the larval gallery of the little dashboard. Some people say, oh, it ruins the wood, but it doesn't. The tree dying and sitting around ruins the wood. Ash borers, they're between the bark and the wood. Then go maybe a couple millimeters into the wood. That's it. If you have something burrowing into your wood, of which there are many beetles that do that, it's not emerald ash borer. It might be powder post beetles or something, which will, as soon as a tree dies or is almost dead, they'll go for it. That's why just because you see a bug in a tree doesn't mean that's what killed it. Any tree that dies is going to have bugs of various kinds in it. So I've made a bunch of axe handles and stuff out of borer-killed ash, and I just get it fresh before anything bad happens to it. Especially, it helps to cut it in the winter, or when it's cold enough that the opportunistic beetles. No, why not clean? Are not flying. So one thing, you know, people talk a lot about how like hardwoods versus softwoods and say all sorts of things. I mean, one thing to say is that some hardwoods are softer than some softwoods. You know, it's a generalization for like types of industry. It's not a reliable indication of how hard the wood is. So like, you know, like Douglas fir is a softwood, but it's, you know, twice as hard as aspen, which is the hardwood. It's not very hard. It's just a broadleaf tree. The structure of the wood is different and like the uses are different. The different industries, you know, the softwood industry is even regulated differently. It's mostly for construction materials or pulp and paper. And, you know, it doesn't mean that one's going to be a lot easier or harder to cut with an axe. Like, there's probably nothing on this ash, which is, you know, a pretty hard wood, that's going to be as hard as like a spruce knot. Anyway, that's a digression. All right, so now what I've got is it bucked up except for the bottom wood. So I'm just gonna roll it. This is the time when I would like to take the last branches off that are holding it. Maybe I'll move you guys to this side. Start down here. Sorry, I know it's off camera. Can't get the whole tree in very easily. Ooh. You missed. Kind of a close one. It's fine. Why you keep your feet apart out of the path of the axe when you're bucking. When it comes through unexpectedly. I almost wish, actually, that would be a good teachable moment if that would be. Those spurs off. You'll thank yourself if you do that when you're stacking and things, or just carrying it. I'm just trying to get this to roll. This is dangerous because, so the reason putting your foot up here is dangerous is because if it glances, which, you know, eventually will do, it's going to get your foot. Also, it's dangerous because I don't want anyone to see the state of these shitty old boots. First, I'm going to have to take it off for kids. Okay. There we go. Okay. That's too much on this one. Now, that kind of looked close probably from that angle, but I didn't have my leg there, and that's the reason. So, in case you missed it, it went through like that, and I glanced. But you have to have your leg not out of the way, just to where you intend to hit, but where the axe might go. All right, now for some splitting, and then this tree is processed. You know, some of these green ash are pretty. Pretty tough. Plus, you know, this is a swamp. It's dry right now because we haven't had a very rainy fall, but it's kind of open grown. Green ash is very often open grown, and so that means it's knottier. Naughty, naughty. Enough. Three. Yeah, normally ash is easy to split, but I have a theory that green ash is not as easy as the other species. Definitely seems that way to me anyway. Come on. Doesn't want to sit right. Yep. stubborn. So stubborn. This one again. Now, doing this kind of golf swing splitting on the ground, you have to be very careful. I always try to hit, so like by the time the axe hits, it's kind of behind my leg, so that if I miss and it glances, it goes past my ankle instead of into my ankle. You know, I've broken 2 axes doing that. I still do it, but it's hard on axes for some reason. For some reason, yeah, for obvious reasons. Well, I sure picked a tough one. I gotta say, I can do it on camera. This is a pretty good axe for splitting too. Like the, you know, for splitting small stuff. As chopping axes go, the profile is pretty fat. What do we have here? I can feel the views dropping off. YouTube always giving creators the stats. Also the minute details, probably too much. I don't know if it's obvious, but try not to cater too much to the stats, because I definitely wouldn't be doing the sorts of things that I'm doing. That's what I was really going for, is views. Okay, one more. The biggest one. Now, the other thing is like the lower part of the trunk, or closer to the roots, tends to be tougher than the rest. Might actually try to slide this one. That was a good idea. All right. Might leave that really naughty one to be an overnight log. This one's pretty naughty, but I'll split it. It's a little bigger. Okay, now this is going to be the last log. That's not want to split straight. Too bad. All right. Well, I don't know if that was entertaining, but hopefully for people that are doing the cordwood challenge or just interested, one of the things that I saw on Reddit was, someone wanted to, they're like, oh, my chainsaw's not working, always having trouble with it. I have 2 acres of forest, maybe I just want to cut with an axe. And people discourage them, and I kind of did too, because it sort of sounded like maybe they weren't really sure. That's interesting. There's a bunch of earthworms up at the surface. I wonder if it's beating on it. I kind of fiddled them up. Yeah, if you make vibrations in the ground, sometimes it makes worms come to the surface. A lot of people think that's because it imitates rain, but it's actually not. It's actually because it imitates moles, which are a predator of earthworms. So they will come to the surface to avoid a burrowing mole. Anyway, and I don't know, it just worried me that they're like, how do I do everything? Tell me in a Reddit comment. And that makes me nervous because there's no way you're going to get all the info that you would want in a Reddit comment. So, I sort of discourage them. But some people are saying, oh, it's like unrealistic to cut wood with an axe. You should get a chainsaw and learn to use it. But like if you, and the other thing I said is like, oh, I have time. I don't mind if it takes longer. So if you don't mind if it takes longer, and you're willing to become proficient, like you can do a lot with an axe, and it basically, how feasible it is depends on how big the trees are. So because to buck a log with an axe, you have to remove a volume. The difficulty of the amount of work to like cut a log apart depends on the cube of the diameter, not of the log, not linearly. So if you have, a 10-inch log, and you want to know how much more difficult it will be, how much more work it will be to cut a 20-inch log, which is, big. It's 8 times more work. So, because, that's the cube of 2 times the diameter. So, that's the main thing. But the other thing is that you can get handsaws, and handsaw, like a good crosscut saw, and there's a bunch of different options. I really like my bow saw. If you get a big bow saw, that works awesome. You can get one of those very nice but expensive silkies, like the Katana Boy, or you can get just a crosscut one-person saw for bucking, and yeah, that'll mean that you can handle pretty big timber with hand tools, which is, if that's what you want to do, like you can do it. You don't have to own a chainsaw to do some, tree clearing on your property, and you might have a job that's just too big to do with hand tools realistically, but most things you can do. If that's what you want to do, you can do it. So if you're willing to invest in the skill and learn to do it safely. So anyway, that's my tree processed. Hope that was interesting to at least some people, or informative, and there you go. Oh, and it's still recording. Bonus. Cheers. All right, so there it is. There's my efforts. Just the front row there, half a rick.
from yesterday's 6 hours of chopping. I I ran out of time to film. I was collecting this up in the dark because I forgot about transitioning out of daylight savings time. So yeah, it definitely got dark a little sooner than I expected because yeah, I just wasn't thinking straight. So not too bad for 6 hours work. That's 4 trees, a little less than I was hoping to get done, but all right. Yeah, I guess I'm satisfied. Still got a little bit more to go on this year's cordwood challenge before I get to my full cord.